you state and spell your name for the record?
Blain Jones, BlainJones.
Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and set forth our appearances. We'll start first with the plaintiff, and we'll move to the defense.
Will Kemp, Pepperman, Parker.
Good morning, Your Honor. Joel Odou and Matthew Kaufman on behalf of Milwaukee Instruments, and Milwaukee Instruments.
Morning, Your Honor. Scott Rasmussen, Orion on behalf of Hanna Instruments and the
Morning, Your Honor. Rob Robbins from Milwaukee Instruments.
All right. And what do we have out there?
Your Honor, we spoke yesterday. First witness was Blain Jones. He was in the ante room. His personal counsel is also here. We spoke yesterday about the topics that he will not be testifying to. He will not raise insurance, the current state of real water, the bankruptcy, and there should be any discussion of the meter in his direct examination. And therefore, we would believe that there will not be questioning on cross about his personal lawsuit. The second item that we have is we agreed upon the photos that we used in the direct exam as we admitted the stipulation, is my understanding. There's an objection to 4 water quality testing reports that were done on cases of relevance. We believe that they are relevant in the fact that water testing has been the subject of much discussion. None of these tests test for hydrazine. Mr. Blain Jones will acknowledge that, but it does go to the punitive damages claim. The jury does need to know that the water was tested, just it wasn't tested for hydrazine, as we have admitted repeatedly throughout the course of this case. That's all we have.
Mr. Kemp.
Let's see how the tests come in before we decide whether to get them.
I understand.
I think it's a super big deal, but you think it's probably not properly admitted to, but
I understand.
gotta save your bullets.
And
We're ready.
anything else from the co-defendants?
I'd just like to stand and give you an apology for my behavior yesterday and reaching court quorum here and raising my voice in response. It is difficult, as you know, a big case. I'm used to having one attorney on one side speak and the other attorney on the other side speak. This court does things differently, and I need to adjust to how this court does its things. And so when one attorney on the other side speaks and then another one, and maybe even a third one speaks on behalf of the plaintiffs, I needed to learn to adjust to that and make sure that I am aware that that's how the court wants to make sure the records are done here, and that my stress and anxiety with regard to that, trying to listen to 4 or 5 different arguments from one attorney and then 4 or 5 from another attorney and another one, I need to be able to adjust, and I didn't. And so I am sorry, and my behavior is not where it needed to be. And that's all I needed to say. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Do we have, the exhibits that we were showed earlier, the photos, are those pre-admitted or you're going to admit them during?
I understand they've been stipulated. We had copies.
I just want to know the numbers, if we put numbers or if they've been pre-admitted, and if they're not, I'll just wait.
Yeah, so they're going to be 2459, 2460, and 2461.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
2459, 2460, 2461.
Here you go.
Yeah, we made extra copies. You guys can keep those if you want.
No objection from plaintiffs, Your Honor.
No objection.
No objection.
All right. The other photos, just for the record, are plaintiffs.
Are those your full electronic exhibits that are being admitted, or do you have something to replace them?
We have.
These are new.
Okay, may I have them? So those electronic exhibits are not going in, these are them.
Yes.
Which one's which?
They should be, the numbers are on the map. I wrote hand for you, sorry.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry, my writing is barely legible at the best of times.
I got it.
We are also seeking to admit some of the plaintiff's exhibits, which I think one of these is already in. Plaintiff exhibit 358, which is a one-page photo.
No objection, it's not in.
It's in.
And exhibit 337, which is 3 pages, 1, 2, and 3. Plaintiff's exhibit.
No objection. Shall be there. Okay.
What is 337? Photos? Is it just photos?
Yeah, it's plaintiff's photos.
That's okay. Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
So are you replacing those exhibits or are you giving me?
These are plaintiff's electronic exhibits. and
Okay, so
certainly give you
those
copies.
full exhibits will be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is the photos that you're using, all the photos in this exhibit?
Yes, it's 3 pages, and I believe it's all the photos. And that's it, we're ready to proceed, Your Honor. Mr. Jones is in the ante-room.
Anything else?
Yes, Your Honor. I had two things approached by 2 different jurors. One of the jurors over the weekend has something going on with their tooth. So they got medical treatment. They're trying to make it their appointments as needed. They have some restrictions. Nothing narcotics at this time, but just we may need a little bit of leeway for them as they're in a little bit of pain.
Which panel member is it?
Court's indulgence.
Man.
That'd be Judge, that'd be seat number 7. She's here, she's in good spirits, but just, so the court's aware. Second thing, Your Honor, is one of the other jurors approached me and asked me, and I just don't have the answer. Wanted to know if, while she's talking with her counselor, not her lawyer, but her emotional counselor, if she could talk about the case.
I think the answer is no on the trial committee. Which panel member is this? What's the number?
Your Honor, stand by. That'd be juror number 9. She was concerned about the admonishment, and she wanted to approach me and ask for any kind of direction.
The admonishment is the admonishment,
Yes, Your Honor.
right?
Yes,
You can't
Your
talk
Honor.
to anybody about the case.
Yes, Your Honor.
And, any discussion as far as she's concerned?
Judge, I think you just expand the admonishment. I don't know if I'd single her out, but you just make sure you understand. Or maybe Marcia just tells.
It's a, we don't want to overemphasize the issue with any one juror, but
And she's an alternate too.
Right.
yeah, I think she's the first alternate as well.
Sir.
No, I'm concerned, why does she feel the need to talk to her counselor about the case? Is she upset about something, or is it stressing her out? Is she not paying attention? Why would she want to talk to her counselor about it? That's the thought that's going through my head, Your Honor.
Some people talk to counselors about everything, you know, what they
Well, I can say this, I don't want to bring her in and put her under the spotlight.
No.
And here's my point though, and for example, she's an alternate, and there's a good probability that she won't be called upon to serve in the decision making capability, right? Because we're nearing the end, and we'll be done next week.
Your Honor, may I just reserve my right to have, if it turns out she does end up
Oh,
on the jury,
well,
maybe
then we can
question
revisit-
her about that before we move around to the jury.
We can reserve all rights if she serves in the decision-making capacity.
Thank you.
I won't overlook it.
And lastly, I just want to put on the record, the insurance adjuster that was supposed to come back for the voir dire examination about her interaction with the jurors is still not here. Still not here. But let's see if she shows up today. She apparently doesn't want to be here anymore for some reason.
Record noted. Anything else from the jury?
Nothing else this time, Your Honor.
How about this? Because we do have to deal with panel member number 9. I'm not gonna call her out or anything like that. But I guess when we break, for our break, I'll emphasize, when I give the admonishment, you can't discuss the case opinion.
Marshall, I think that was one of the suggestions.
Do you think you want the marshal? I mean, unless we have consensus.
You know, that's probably the least embarrassing way of having it addressed. I wouldn't want to do anything that would offend or
Okay, well,
bring the focus upon her.
why did I do that? If we have consensus, I'm gonna go with the consensus.
Sounds great, Sean.
Sounds great, Your Honor.
Yeah, so you can just tell her, listen to the admonishment, you can't talk to anybody.
It's done, Your Honor. I will take care of it.
That's that simple, right? Including her counselor, or whatever it might be.
Until released from the admonishment.
Right, so I should do that, exactly. Interesting. Is that it with the jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Anything else before we get started? Let's bring them in.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. All rise for the jury. Please be seated.
All right, do the parties stipulate to the presence of the jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and ladies and gentlemen, good morning. And remember, at this point, we're going to start with the defense case in chief, is that correct, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
And so Mr. Odou will be calling his first witness.
Water calls Blain Jones.
Mr. Jones, please watch your step as you ascend. You stand face man on the clerk and raise your right hand, please.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you are about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Swear.
May I have you state and spell your name for the record?
Blain Jones, Blain Jones.
Thank you.
Please have a seat. Be cautious of that wheel, that chair's on wheels.
Okay, Mr. Odou, you may proceed, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Blaine. Would you please tell the jury where you went to high school?
I went to Boulder City High School. Well, I graduated from Boulder City High School, but also attended Nordock High School in California.
Okay. And when did you graduate from Boulder City?
2005.
And after graduating from high school, what did you do?
I started working for my father, a couple different businesses that he had going on and different things that he was doing.
Who's your father?
Brett Jones.
And approximately when did you start working at Real Water?
I would say probably around 2008.
When you first started working at Real Water, what kind of work did you do?
I first started working on the production line.
And what is that?
The producing of the bulk water product that he was making
And where was that?
in Las Vegas off the Desert Inn.
And did you start to progress through the company as you worked there?
Yeah, worked for a number of years at the company and did different positions that whatever was basically needed at the time throughout the years, kind of filled that gap and, made everything work that was needed.
And what kind of company is it?
It's a bottled water,
And what kind of water does your water make?
alkaline and negatively ionized.
And when you first started with the company, who made the concentrate?
John Marlowe.
And who's John Marlowe?
He's the inventor of the concentrate technology.
Okay. And did that change at any time?
During the course of the company, I was instructed and trained by him on how to do part of the process for making the concentrate, and he trained me. He was always kind of involved with it throughout the years, but it went from him solely doing it to then me taking over some of those.
What kind of on-the-job training?
Yeah.
And about when was that approximately?
I would say 4 or 5 years into the company's life, so he's kind of started training me.
About 2012, that time frame?
Somewhere in there, yeah.
Okay. Your Honor, we'd like to show the jury plaintiff's exhibit 358, where there's stipulations been admitted. Okay, so Mark, you take that for us then. Blaine, what are we looking at here?
That is a water filtration unit.
And what does it do?
It takes the municipal water from the tap, basically, and puts it through a series of filtration steps, mainly reverse osmosis, which is the one that takes out the majority of the particulates or things that are in the water.
So this is basically municipal water comes in on one side, and then what happens?
It goes through all the different stages. You see the different tanks and filters that are on the unit there. Like I said, reverse osmosis, a couple different media filters, UV lights. There's an ozone addition to the water as well. And so basically out of the end of it, it comes out and goes into a holding tank and it's filtered water.
Okay. Now I'd like to show the jury plaintiff's exhibit 337, page 1, that's been admitted.
You may do so, sir.
All right, what are we looking at here, Blaine?
In the center of the frame there is the 5-gallon washing, filling, and capping machine.
And this is at the Henderson facility?
Correct.
And what's on the left-hand side of that screen?
That is a water tank that was used, I believe, for the actual mixing and making of the real water product.
Okay, so the water would come out of the filtration system to go into that tank or the other tank?
There's a holding tank, I think, behind the filling machine that you can't quite see here. That's where it would go into, and then it would go into that holding tank and then be pulled from the holding tank into that mixing tank, I guess is what it was called.
Okay, can we see page 2 of exhibit 337, please? Again, what are we looking at here?
Different angle, the 5-gallon filling, washing, filling, capping machine on the right, and then you can see the tanks there. The middle one is one of the mixing tanks. On the right that you can kind of barely see is the holding tank, and then another mixing tank on the far left.
Okay. Can we go to the third page of exhibit 337, please? And now what do we see?
You can see the holding tank better, it's larger there on the left.
So the water comes out of the filtration system into that holding tank?
Correct.
All right, let's take a look at what we're going to mark as real waters exhibit 2459. There's been a stipulation to admit this one, Ron.
All right, that's fine, sir.
And what are we looking at here, Glenn?
It's a 3-compartment sink.
And what was this used for?
Washing and sanitizing of different tools, things that were needed.
And we take a look at what's been marked as Exhibit 2460, also been pre-admitted, or agreed to be admitted.
Another example of the 3-compartment sink, and then also a hand washing sink there on the left.
And in the foreground, that's the fill tank.
The holding tank there, yeah, on the right, and then the 2 mixing tanks on the left.
Okay, and there's a ladder in the picture. What is that used for?
To be able to access the top of the mixing tanks.
Okay. And let's take a look at the last exhibit, or the last photo, which would be 2461. What are we looking at there?
Different angle of the 3-compartment sink, hand washing sink there on the left, and then one of the mixing tanks there on the right.
Okay. Can we go back to one of the prior exhibits? Let's go back to Exhibit 337, page 2. So after the product is made, what does the machine right in front of us do?
The 5-gallon machine, so the empty bottles would be fed into the machine on the other side that's being shown, and they would go into a washing cycle, a sanitation cycle, and then come around and get filled and capped. That would be the flow of the bottles themselves. The water would be pumped from the mixing tanks over to the 5-gallon machine there. I'd first go through a secondary UV light that you can see on the top of the 5-gallon machine, and then go into the filling heads of the machine, which would then go into the empty bottles that were just washed and sanitized.
As part of the manufacture of real water, was the water sent to outside laboratories for testing?
Yes.
Your Honor, we offer real water exhibit 2302.
You have no objection to, I think, moving forward?
Yeah.
No objection here.
Thank you.
Objection.
Objection.
Okay, so
Thank you, Your Honor. So just so the record's clear, are we admitting all four? 2302, 2352, 2043, and 2093?
No objection.
No objection.
May I have those numbers again?
Sure, sorry.
Mr. Robbins, no objection?
No objection, I just need the numbers too.
We've all done this, I'm sorry. The first exhibit is 2302. The second exhibit is real water 2352. Third exhibit is real water 2043. And the last exhibit is real water 2093. Blain, can you describe in very, very general terms what this is? This is a letter from 2017. What is this?
This is a letter from Silver State Analytical Laboratories here in the Vegas area, who the company used to do various testing, and as a third-party certified lab to do the testing.
And what were they testing?
The product, the bottled water,
The finished product?
finished product, yeah.
How often were they doing testing?
They would do weekly testing, quarterly testing, yearly testing, and then another more comprehensive test every 4 years.
Okay. And so this particular one is from 2017?
Appears to be.
Can we take a look at exhibit real water 2352, please? And who's Pace Analytical?
Subcontractor for Silver State.
And what did they do for real water?
Same thing, so Silver State was the vendor that the company used, and then Pace Analytical was who they subbed these tests out to, for whatever reason.
What's the time frame of this particular test?
Looks like it's July of 2018.
And let's take a look at exhibit 2043, please. And what is this?
Another test from a different lab.
And when was this one?
Looks like it's November of 2019.
And again, what are they testing?
The finished product. I couldn't tell you, there's a number of different things they actually test for, but the sample was of the finished product.
And let's take a look at the last one, exhibit 2093, please. And what is exhibit 2093?
Another test from wet lab,
And what are they testing?
finished product.
At one point, did you become aware that Real Water had failed an NSF audit?
So they don't necessarily do a full pass-fail from my recollection. They give you, depending on how severe, I guess, the findings are. But for Real Water, in my recollection of the different audits that it went through, we only ever had a few findings that needed to be corrected and given some corrective actions and things that needed to be done. But I want to say we were always in the 90 percentile of passing, I guess you would say.
And that audit was required by one of the vendors that Real Water sold to.
Correct.
The audit that Real Water did not pass, you remember what happened?
I don't recall the specific points that were listed as not passing, no.
Do you recall that one of the questions that the auditors had was that the HACCP-trained employee had just left the company?
Yes.
What do you recall about that?
So we had, the company had an employee that was working, that was HACCP trained. She had been with the company for 4 or 5 years, I want to say, over the production area as well as quality control. And she resigned her position a few days prior to the audit. It's a surprise audit. You never know when the person's going to come in to actually do the audit. She had resigned within a week of when the auditor showed up. So it was a bit of a surprise at the time. And unfortunately, I had to kind of step in and, do the best that I could.
And at the time of the audit, or after that audit, did you take HACCP training?
I did. Yep.
And what is HACCP training?
Hazard analysis and critical control points.
Now I want to turn to sort of the last area that I want to ask you about. Focusing on the production of Real Water, can you explain to the jury why workers were told not to drink Real Water directly off the line?
Sure. Basically because the part of the filtration process that the product went through is through ozone. It's one of the common ways to treat bottled water or water for bacteria and basically eliminate the bacteria in the water. And so it was treated with ozone right before it's bottled, which is the standard practice through bottled water manufacturing. And that ozone is harmful for someone to drink directly. And so if you drink the product right after it was dosed with the ozone or right after it was bottled, you would have an upset stomach, not feel very well for a day or two or so. The ozone dissipates out of the product or out of the water. It has a half-life, I believe, of about 8 hours. Not an expert, but that's my recollection. So drinking the product right after it's bottled, you would be basically drinking that high concentration of ozone.
Mr. Jones, thank you for your testimony. I don't have any further.
All right, thank you, sir.
Court is adjourned, Joe. Ready?
Shane, can you put on the screen Exhibit 90, please? Good morning, Mr. Jones. How are you?
Morning.
Teddy
All right.
Parker. Good. Teddy Parker. I don't think we've ever met.
No.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Are you familiar with this document?
No, no.
How about page 20 of this document? If you see a list of these toxins or poisons identified by the CDC, you've heard of the CDC, correct?
I have.
Do you see where hydrazine is identified on this list of toxins? Second row highlighted. For me, Shane. Okay.
Yep, I see it.
Is it fair to say that the tests that you performed or that were performed on real water did not include testing for hydrazine?
It's my understanding that those tests didn't include testing for hydrogen, yeah.
Did or did not?
Did not.
Thank you very much. One other question. Is it fair to say that hydrazine was found in the real water concentrate?
I was made aware of it after certain time. I was asked, through one through my depositions, I was found out that it was found in the product.
And so from roughly 2008, when you began working there, until 2020, real water never tested for hydrazine, correct?
Not to my knowledge.
Thank you. I'll pass the witness.
Mr. Rasmussen.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. Jones.
Morning.
We met before. You remember that?
Yeah.
Can we show, I think it's already been admitted, Exhibit 337, it's one of the famous photos. Is that it? I mean, it's okay. It's 3 pages, exhibit. Approach the screen, is that right, Your Honor?
It's fine.
We can make this a little easier, perhaps. I use a car antenna as my pointer. Cheap idea. What are these?
Those are 5-gallon containers.
What do they contain?
Couldn't say for sure at the time.
We can point down here and blow this part up right here. It's got a pretty good label on it right there. Does that help at all? Want to just get this right there? Maybe we can get. Any ideas?
Looks like that one's for the real water concentrate.
So, are these the concentrate that would have been put into the mixing tank?
Correct.
Okay. Had to have it audible.
Sure.
Let's go back now. So, this particular tank is a mixing tank, right?
Correct.
Next to it, and it's hard to see, and we'll get a better shot in a second, that's the filtered water tank, correct?
Correct.
So I think it's the next page of 337, Mark. The next one after that, we've already seen it, page 3. Yeah, there we go. So this is that tank I was just looking at, right?
Correct.
And this is the filtered water tank.
Correct.
All right. I'm only doing this so that we have an idea. This is that filter machine right here we talked about earlier.
To the right of the tank. Yep.
Okay. So water comes from here and it goes up into these PVC pipes and ends up in this filtered water tank.
Correct.
And then from there, it goes over into these mixing tanks. And at that point is when the concentrate is added.
Correct.
Okay. And we've just heard you say that in the concentrate they found hydrazine, correct?
No, I didn't say that.
Okay.
I think Teddy did.
Fair enough. Let's go back out. There's some pictures of the sinks. Can we show that? Joel, can you remind me, is it 2459, 2461, I believe, 2461. Now, there were two mixing tanks. This is where the concentrate would be put into this, right? And the water would come in here through these PVC pipes, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. How would this mix, how would this water be mixed with the concentrate?
Through a pump and recirculation within the tank.
So there's a recirculating pump and it's down here on the floor, correct?
Correct.
And that would mix this, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Go back down. Do you see these cups right here?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what those are?
Those are for testing the water after it had been mixed.
What is this bottle right here?
It's like a pH solution test.
Okay. So these cups were used to do a pH test after mixing?
You take a sample, place it into the cup, and then use the pH solution and do various tests.
During this time as well, could you also fill one of these cups with water to do any other tests, like a TDS test?
Yes.
Okay.
Why were pH tests done?
Because the product quality was stated as an alkaline water, so there were certain standards that the product was supposed to be at within a certain pH range for being alkaline.
Do you know what pH does to water?
I don't know if pH does something to the water. It's a characteristic that you can measure. It's a scale, basically.
And going back here, this particular, only in the sample though, this is where you actually put something into the water, correct? And it changes.
To test for the pH, correct?
What happens as part of the test, do you recall?
The solution, the water would change color based on its pH level.
Can you show that video? This has already been pre-admitted, and as admitted, it's the video. Give you the exact number. Here's that list of admitted. No, it's not it. The admitted ones. Sorry for it. There we go. That's going in the right spot. I believe it is 7013.
Ready to do a product demonstration. You should also have some pH solution with you as well. The two types of bottled waters that I like to use are Dasani and Aquafina. Coke owns Dasani, Pepsi owns Aquafina, and they're the number 1 and number 2 bottled waters in North America. So most likely, whoever you're demonstrating the product to has drank one of these bottles of water. Take a little bit of the water and pour it in to some cups. Now you want to use some short, stocky cups when you're doing this. If they're tall and skinny, it might get knocked over as you're pouring or moving things around, so it makes it a little bit easier when you're doing the demonstration. Now that you've got some water in your cups, next thing you want to do is add some of the pH solution. I like to start with this because it gives that immediate wow factor of the color. Add a little bit into the first cup and a little into the second. And right there you see the color of the solutions of the water, and you can match it up on the pH chart to see that they're about a 3 or a 4, 5 acid.
Can you go back to that last second?
Ready to do
It's not.
a pH chart to see that they're about a 3 or a 4.
Thank you. Up here in the corner left, maybe it's easier to see on your screen, what is that?
It's a pH scale.
And that scale goes from 7, which is your base, and it goes down to 0, and then up to 14, typically. Is that correct?
Yeah, generally.
Okay. And so if I go down to 0, I'm getting acidic.
Correct.
And if I go up, I get alkaline.
That's my understanding.
Okay. And the colors in these waters would suggest acidic water.
Yes.
Okay. Is that how you understand it to be?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And so the Dasani water, the Aquafina water, that's what you have as the acidic water, correct?
Correct.
And what Real Watcher wanted to do is make alkaline water, which would be a different color, more
Correct.
blues and purples.
It all depends on the pH scale of the solution you're using, but for this one, that's what it looks like.
So, take me back for a little bit more on this particular video, and you can get that down, Mark. Tell me, you said a couple times the word demonstration. Who are you demonstrating that to, that pH?
In that specific video,
Yeah.
I'm not sure who the audience was that watched it. It was filmed by the company and then they posted it and had their marketing department do whatever they did with it.
Okay, so marketing department. Does that mean that people who marketed Real Water watched the video and then they would go out and market the product to potential retailers of Real Water?
Potentially.
Is it a training video for employees of Real Water?
I don't
Scope.
recall.
Don't answer that. Were people that marketed Real Water for Real Water, right, that's kind of redundant, it's the Real Water bottled water products. Those employees of Real Water, were they provided the pH that was used in the demonstration by Real Water to do the demonstrations?
Objection beyond the scope, that's respectfully.
I'll sustain.
Well, that's right, thank you.
Mr. Robbins?
No question, John.
Anything else, Mr. Odou?
No, Your Honor. Thank you, Mr.
John, appreciate it. Thank you, sir, for your release. And thank you, counsel. And apparently, sir, we have a question from one of the panel members, vote number 11, and that's Chair. And here's the question, quote, how long will you mix the water and concentrate before sampling the water?
The procedure that the company developed, it depended on the quantity, I guess, of the water that was being made. So the rule of thumb or the standard would be to have the product turn over 2 to 3 times. So if it's 100 gallons and you have a 50 gallon per minute pump, make sure that pump runs for enough minutes for that 100 gallons to mix 2 to 3 times, minimum.
All right, counsel, any follow-up?
No follow-up, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, let's go, Bill, you call your next witness.
Court's indulgence, Mr. Kaufman has an next witness.
Okay, I understand. He's out talking to him right now. Wait a minute.
Hey, you're up.
Apologies, Your Honor. Just trying to say goodbye to my client. Your Honor, if I need Real Water to call Mr. Charles Nesson by video. All right.
Good morning, Mr. Naslund. My name's Will Kemp, and it's pronounced Naslund.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And should it be Dr. Naslund or what?
Just Mr. Neslin, or you may call me Charles.
Okay. All right. Okay, Mr. Naslund, can you tell me who you work for?
For work for Eurofins Lancaster Laboratories Environment Testing, a company within the Eurofins Environment Testing group of laboratories.
And in general, what does Eurofins do?
Eurofins Environment Testing does environmental analysis, so analysis of contaminants in the environment, water quality parameters, soil remediation parameters, and the like. So any and all of the environmental contaminants that you might read about in the newspaper, spills and the like, we do that kind of testing and deliver those results.
Okay, how long has Eurofins been engaged in doing this type of testing?
Eurofins Corporate has been engaged, for over 50 years. The companies within the Eurofins Environment Testing America have different tenures. The facility I'm at, which is in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, has been doing that for nearly 60 years. Our counterparts in what was your Test America, they've been doing that also for nearly 40 or 50 years, so it's quite a few decades.
And can you tell me just briefly the extent of your educational background?
I have a BS in chemistry from the University of Pittsburgh and spent another 2 years in graduate studies in organic chemistry before starting work at my current location, which is the Legacy Lancaster Laboratories, currently Eurofins Lancaster Laboratories.
Okay, and how long have you been working for Eurofins?
At this location for Lancaster Laboratories and now Eurofins Lancaster Laboratories, about 38 years.
Was Eurofins retained to undertake some testing with regards to a product known as real water?
That I cannot specifically answer to, other than what I've seen in the analytical reports.
Okay, Eurofins was retained to do some testing, correct?
Yes, yes, sir.
And how would you describe the product being tested?
As based off of the analysis reports, they look to be water samples for which different water analysis parameters testing parameters were performed.
And do you know who retained Eurofins to do the testing on the water samples?
I do not, sir.
Okay. And what type of testing generally did Eurofins do on the water samples?
From what I saw from the analytical reports, there was, of course, the hydrazine analysis. There were some other organics analysis, like semi-volatile compounds. I believe there were also some volatile compounds done, as well as some anion analysis, like chloride, nitrate, nitrite. I believe one sample may have even had a microbiological test on the, I'm dropping the name right now, but it's looking for bacteria in the water.
Oh yeah, chloride was found in all 7 samples tested, right?
Okay.
And I think that you touched on this one in response to Mr. Kemp's last question, or second to last question, but as far as you're aware, is hydrazine an analyte that is typically tested for in standard bottled water testing?
To my knowledge, no, it is not.
And is hydrazine something that's tested for in any sort of standard water testing that you're aware of, such as municipal water or anything like that?
To my knowledge, no, it is not.
In terms of Eurofins' capabilities for liquid testing, roughly how many different analytes can Eurofins test for?
This is really just a guesstimate. I have not tallied the actual number, but it's several hundred.
So, for example, there are several hundred, at least according to your estimate, different analytes that Eurofins could test for in a bottled water sample?
Yes, sir.
Are you aware of any of your clients ever testing bottled water for all of the several hundred of the analytes that Eurofins can test for?
No, I am not aware of that.
If a party wanted to test a water sample for hydrazine, that is something that would need to be specifically requested, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And in fact, you described that Eurofins had to develop a special protocol to even test for hydrazine?
Yes, that is correct.
And that's it, Your Honor, maybe approach, please.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna call the next witness.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor, real water called Blain Jones, via video.
What's your name for the record, sir?
Brent Allen Jones.
All right, tell us briefly about your education, Mr. Jones.
High school, Ojai, California. Then I went to UC Riverside for 1 year, pre-med, didn't like it. I went to Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University for 2 years. Got a pilot slot in the Air Force, but then I got a rare disease called Guillain-Barré. Was completely paralyzed. I then moved home with my parents. I went to, as I was recovering, I went to Ventura Junior College. After I could walk again, I went to Cal State Northridge and got my degree, Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration, double major Finance and Real Estate. Then after that, I went to Pepperman University School of Law, graduated from Pepperman in '91 with a Juris Doctorate, and then I passed the bar, and then various continuing educations over the years.
And how long was your bar license active?
About 10 years, I believe. So around 2000.
And then just to speed things up, you started working for some startups. The dot-com bust came. Those startups folded. Then what happened?
Then I took over Affinity, which was one of the companies that I worked with and helped fund. I bought the minority shareholders out. We produced various natural products. And I decided I wanted to move out of California, so we moved to Nevada in around 2004 with Affinity. Then I was looking for another product that was more breakthrough type product, and that's when we found the what we call the E2 concentrate, or electron energized concentrate. And then we bought a bottling plant and started making the water.
Where was that bottling plant?
Desert Inn.
And when did you start making the water?
Was it around 2008 or 2000, somewhere around there?
What was your role at Real Water Inc.?
President.
Did you have any other officer positions?
For the Secretary of State, I may have been a secretary or something as well. I'm not certain, but
you were a board member?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Jones, going back on the record, I wanted to take you back to the time period around the recall, March of 2021. And I think earlier, you're in Panama, is that right?
Correct.
And I think you said you were blindsided by this news.
Correct.
Did you have an understanding about what the potential problem was that arose in Las Vegas?
At this time, I don't know if I knew at that point. Obviously, hindsight now as it's developed. We didn't know, I remember at the beginning, didn't know what the issue was whatsoever. The FDA came into the Las Vegas facility initially, and they didn't really roll down the mace, I think, for a week or two. So it was focused on the home and office delivery, because we did not sell any ready-to-drink out of that facility. There was also by distributors such as UNFI or KE or Nevada Beverage. So at the point that this happened, it was believed it was only associated with the home and office delivery. And I guess subsequently people claim that they're ready to drink, but at the time we didn't have any thoughts that it was any association.
All right, did you do any investigation into what went wrong when people got, first of all, let me do this. Are you aware of an association between consuming real water 5-gallon jugs in the fall of 2020 and liver injuries?
I'll just, so we can cut to the chase, I'll answer what you're asking me. And if it isn't, you can get me to clarify. We had no idea that I had no idea that our water was causing problems. My own son Blain got very sick, and at the same time, we didn't stop drinking raw water. We didn't have any idea that it was associated with raw water whatsoever. I mean, he got sick himself, and if we would have thought it was real water, we would have done something at that time. We did it because we didn't know there was any association whatsoever with real water. So no, I did not think that there was any problem with real water in October or November of 2020. I was completely blindsided when it happened in March.
Mr. Jones, there have been allegations in the case that real water used, quote, prison labor, close quote. Can you explain what you did or didn't do in that regard so that we get a better understanding of the process?
Okay. Oh, you lawyers are just funny. So there's a program called Hope for Prisoners. And what it does, it helps rehabilitate people that are coming out of prison. And we absolutely work with them with their rehabilitated convicts to help them reassimilate back into a working life.
You don't have hydrazine?
No.
Okay. Are you aware that hydrazine can be used as a type of rocket fuel?
I'm not aware of the use for hydrazine.
Are you aware that hydrazine can cause nervous system effects as well as liver and kidney damage?
I'm not aware of the effects of hydrazine on the body, no.
Alright, would you agree with me that hydrazine or potential rocket fuel should not be in a real water product?
Yes, I would agree that it should not be in a real water product.
That's it, Your Honor.
Your Honor, we have some housekeeping matters outside the presence. I think this would be a good time for a lunch break or we would pass. But we have some issues to talk about before we do.
Okay. So it's 11:45. You think 1 o'clock's enough time?
Really up to the jury, Your Honor.
I understand. I'm focusing on the time. If there's a few issues we need to address.
Yes, Your Honor.
So we should be able to do it in that time period. Ladies and gentlemen, 1 o'clock.
Your Honor, you had Mark.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you're admonished not to converse amongst yourselves and anyone else in the subject connected with this trial, or to read, watch, and listen to any report of our commentary on the trial of the persons connected with this case, or by any medium of information, including telecommunications, newspaper, television, radio. Remember, no social media until then. Also, you're not to form or express any opinion on any subject connected with this trial until the cause is finally submitted to you. Remember that.
All rise to the court is adjourned. Jury is clear. Please be seated. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just really briefly, obviously, Mr. Kaufman showed the court the testimony. We need to read the pertinent parts into the record to make the full record. That's the witness that we offered. That's part one. The second part is, as the court's well aware, we've reached a settlement with Orion, Gallagher, and Chief Haley by way of accepted offers of judgment. We have the checks. We just haven't been able to coordinate the plaintiff signing the release. And we want to make it clear before we rest that we're in reliance upon those two plaintiffs being settled and they're going to rest our case.
Yeah, that's correct, Your Honor. I told Mr. Lee yesterday, we've been focused on the, time's at a precious quantity for everybody at this point. And so we've been focused on getting the UNFI documents negotiated, executed, and we're behind the curve on that. So we really haven't had, I don't think there's any dispute with the real water release. Mr. Pepperman has looked at it, he tells me it looks okay. I haven't looked at it until I look at it. But, you know, we did make an offer of judgment, they accepted the offer of judgment, so I don't think we have a problem here.
Certainly, there's no dispute as to that fact. I mean, the claims are resolved pursuant to an offer of judgment, regardless of what the case ultimately says or is signed.
Just being extremely cautious.
I understand that.
All right. So I'll let Mr. Kaufman, if it's convenient for the court, make this quick offer of proof and we can grab some lunch.
All right. Mr. Hoffman, sir.
So very quickly, I'll just read in what we had designated for Ms. Warren.
Oh, you can make copies of it, print it, and have it attached as part of the record.
Wonderful.
Even better, Your Honor.
I mean, I have no problem with making records, right?
That's fine, that's your.
Yeah, and I think the other side, they had a response to, I guess, the proffer based upon, I guess, the rule.
They did.
Yeah, and
Well,
that was
I just want to make sure it's on the record. That's all.
Mayor, Mr. Parker pointed out that there's been no showing of availability, witnesses 6 blocks away. Presumably, and on top of that, I pointed out that this, if they want to present a federal right defense, the way to do it is to call a federal right for, excuse me, a local right expert, you have that, or the expert process, and that wasn't done.
Your Honor, I would just add that in terms of the copy to be submitted for the record, we'd ask that the objections that were stated on the record at the deposition also be included, because we would assert those same objections to the testimony. That would be including objections by me at the deposition and the Southern Nevada Health District Attorney, Mr. Winder.
We'll make it real simple. We'll just make it out of the deposition itself. Deposition pages, so that way everything's included.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, just include it. It is what it is. I don't know if this one's going to be, I mean, I understand why, but, you know, there is a predicate before we even dig deep into the substance of the potential testimony. You have to establish unavailability as a first predicate, and we don't have that. But anyway, anything else?
No, Your Honor, we'll rest when we come back and then either Hanna or Milwaukee can proceed.
Judge, can we get an idea who the witnesses are, it's totally general, but then, 1 o'clock, we get started.
Carl Silvaggio.
Followed by?
We'll be doing some video. I believe it's going to be case agent volume number 2, which we did baseline presented to you guys.
Fortenbaugh and,
I'll be here tomorrow.
Dr. Babcock?
I'll be here tomorrow.
Do we have enough to fill up this afternoon?
I'll do those 2, plus we have the Blain Jones video.
What's that for Blain Jones? He was just here. Oh, I'm sorry. How much time do you have?
You know, Teddy, I haven't put the exact amount of time, but I will by the time we get done with lecture, give you the exact amount.
No, that's right. I'm just trying to estimate. You don't have to give me the exact number.
So is it safe to say what we're doing with the defense case in chief?
Yes, sir.
I think so, yeah.
And then,
Same one, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. One other question for Mr. Robbins. He and I neglected to get together last night on the phone about Mr. Brown. What is the
I'm sorry. Sorry, Teddy, I haven't played it.
That's all right.
I intend to call.
You do or do not?
I do not.
Okay, that's fine. I just needed to arrange for someone in South Carolina if you did.
so just to be clear, for tomorrow is Fortenbaugh, Babcock, and is that it?
No, there may be others. There are Aikens on the deposition.
Aikens and Blain Jones after lunch, right? Silvaggio.
Silvaggio after lunch. I did not say that. I'm sorry, I didn't.
There's Silvaggio, Aikens,
lunch,
and then tomorrow, Dr. Fortenbaugh and Dr. Babcock.
Anyone else is what you want to know about, right?
Yes.
Laura Brown. Laura Brown. Who's on our witnesses since the beginning. You didn't take her deposition, I don't know why. She's an employee of Hanna.
Okay. And then, Rob, do you have any witnesses?
Adele. And there's one potential other witness, I'm not sure, so I'm not going to disclose it yet. I'll let you know tonight whether that person's available.
Enjoy your lunch.
All right.
Part 16. Now back into the session. Please be seated, thank you.
Anyway, I apologize for the glitch, I had to get a judge's meeting. And then I just don't want to blow them off. Right, I gotta go.
You know where you live.
Right, I do. Anyway, let's go ahead and settle our occurrences for the record.
Shane, can you grab some clips? Overview and Matthew Kaufman from Real Water, offended SLS.com Real Water Bill Services.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Scott Rasmussen, Orion, Gallagher, on behalf of Hanna Instruments, we're with Mrs. Mike Reed, Hanna Instruments.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Rob Robbins from Milwaukee Instruments.
All right. So, are we ready to continue?
Yes, Your Honor.
And we're going to adjourn it in confidential witness so play the next video.
All right.
Please be seated.
All right, we will try to stipulate to the presence of the jury.
Yes, Your Honor.
And ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And again, we're going to continue on, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. Real Water Rights.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, the defendant, Real Water, has rested as far as their presentation of evidence is concerned. So we're going to the next party to the litigation. And Mr. Rasmussen, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Hanna Instruments calls Carl Silvaggio. We're good at that, that's not the reason.
Rasmussen, please watch your step as you ascend. You stand and face Madam Clerk, raise your right hand.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you are about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
May I have you state and spell your name for the record?
My first name is Carl, spelled with C-A-R-L. My last name is Silvaggio, spelled S as in Sam, I-L, V Victor, A, G as in George, G as in George, I-O.
Thank you.
Please have a seat. You can just step on wheels.
Okay, sir, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Silvaggio. I've got a few questions for you. Got a page full, hopefully it won't take very long. Let's start out with just get some background information from you. Where did you attend college?
Bryant University in Rhode Island,
And what did you study?
accounting.
And did you graduate from college?
Yes, I did.
And what did you get?
Degree, accounting degree,
Okay.
Bachelor of Science.
When did you start working at Hanna?
It was in June of 1992.
Okay. And did you work for, when did you graduate from college? What year?
It was 1987.
So for a few years you worked at other places?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And then you went to work for Hanna?
Yes, I did.
And what did you do at Hanna when you first worked there?
I did customer service primarily and a little bit of logistics.
Okay. And after about 6 years of working there, were you still in customer service?
I moved out of that. Opportunity came along where I could have some input into the Milwaukee Instruments company.
Okay. So was that in and around 1998?
Correct.
Okay. And what was the position or opportunity that you had?
It was president. I was offered president and treasurer.
So in 1998, you became the president of Milwaukee Instruments.
That's correct.
That's a North Carolina corporation?
That is correct.
And you've had that position for the last 25 years?
Yes.
Okay. Is Milwaukee Instruments located in North Carolina?
It is.
What city?
A little bit north of Raleigh, a city called Rocky Mount.
And do you live in North Carolina?
No, I do not.
Where do you live?
Rhode Island, in Lincoln, Rhode Island, a small town.
All right. You're the president of Milwaukee. Are you able to do all the functions and things that you need to do as president, even though you live in Rhode Island?
Oh, yes, yeah. Today's technology is, I think everybody's used Zoom, everybody's used cell phones, texting, all kinds of different communication venues. It's too many communication venues almost.
And do you communicate with the employees of Milwaukee?
I do, yes.
How often?
Daily.
How many employees does Milwaukee have?
I'm sorry?
How many employees does Milwaukee Instruments have?
We have 4 full-time employees.
Do you go down to North Carolina?
Yes, I do.
How often?
I don't know, once a year at least, and sometimes maybe twice if required. But yeah, with today's technology, I can
Right.
Zoom, call, etc.
In the last few years, our country's dealt with the COVID pandemic. When I say COVID pandemic, others can call it something else sometimes. During that time period, were you able to go down as frequently because of COVID?
No, it was not. It was lots of restrictions.
But you were still able to communicate on a daily basis with the employees there?
Yes, well, there's cell phones and Zoom and etc. Correct.
So do you conduct Zoom meetings with your employees of Milwaukee?
Yes, when required. Yeah, we Zoom in and we have conversations.
As president of Milwaukee, do you handle the day-to-day operations or whatever you do as president for Milwaukee? Do you handle those on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, well, I'm influential in the customer service, the inventory, giving a little bit of input into, maybe a heating system goes down, they need authorization for the approval, for the expenditure, something like that.
Okay. Can you just tell the jury what your day-to-day, you just kind of answer it, make sure that you have described to the jury all the things you do as president of Milwaukee?
Oh, it's on a day-to-day basis, pretty much up early in the morning. I'm usually checking from home immediately for any types of orders that are incoming from our customer base. We sell through distribution, and we also have an e-commerce site. And so I'm checking those orders immediately. I'm checking any inquiries that may have occurred. I'm thinking about ways, hopefully, to, as everybody wants, to increase business and try new markets.
I communicate as soon as the time clock allows. You know, we're all on the Eastern Standard Time, Seaboard. As soon as the employees get into the office, I give a call down there, check in, make sure everybody's okay. Make sure that there's no immediate crises to deal with. If there were, we try to resolve them. Get a tally of the orders of the day, communicate back to the customers. We ensure that the customer gets communication of their ship date, of the inventory availability. If they may not have made their order complete, we contact them and say, oh, by the way, did you forget this? Weekly basis, I have to update the inventory. So the inventory gets depleted. So we run a requirement that compares what our target inventory is to what is on hand. And we call those shortages. The difference between that is called shortages. We ensure that those shortages are ordered so that our product line, our supply line is kept consistent on a weekly basis. We have UPS trucks coming in on a weekly basis that need to be unpacked, updated. I make sure that's all done. I check for any inventory errors, purchase orders going out to requirements for pencils and pens and all the things that keep businesses going. And any day-to-day problems such as that. It's regular business activity.
And you already testified that you've been there for 25 years, correct?
I have.
In that 25 years, has Milwaukee Instruments ever been sued?
No, we have never been sued.
In your 25 years as a president, has anyone ever returned for a refund an ORP meter that was manufactured by Milwaukee?
No.
Has anyone returned an ORP meter saying that it was not working properly and asked for a refund?
And asked for a refund,
Now, you are also an employee of Hanna, correct?
I am.
Okay, and you get a paycheck from Hanna?
I do.
And you also get compensation from Milwaukee, correct?
Yes, I get a W-2 from Hanna and a 1099 from Milwaukee as a non-employee at Milwaukee.
In 1998, when you became president of Milwaukee, did your title at Hanna turn into something? What would your title be?
My current title is the Vice President of the Operations at Hanna.
What does that mean?
It's facilities operations. So we have facilities. We have rooftop heating units, cooling units. We have floors to buff and wax. We have camera systems that crash. We have all kinds of facility type things that must be maintained on a day-to-day basis. And that can be, we have some, 2 people who report to me, and they take care of like floor cleaning, dusting, these kind of things. Moving desks, moving offices, maybe we repurpose an area inside the company. And with that repurposing, we have to get outside contractors in to create bids and, do the due diligence on the best cost with the best opportunity for completion.
So at Milwaukee, you're the president. At Hanna, you're the vice president over the facilities.
Correct.
Okay. And you described for the jury exactly what you do at Hanna. Are there other vice presidents at Hanna that do other things?
Yes, we have, just like a bank, oftentimes in banks, we have vice president of this department and that department. We have people who oversee the finance and people that oversee the production, people who are overseeing all facets of the different operations.
And do you ever have to take over the responsibilities of some other vice presidents, or are you pretty much in your particular lane?
No, I'm in my lane. I have a focus, and that's what I have to do day to day, and it's my job.
Okay. At the Rhode Island facility, is there a warehouse?
Yeah, yes, there is a warehouse.
Okay. Tell me how big that warehouse is.
The overall facility is 38,000 square feet. of that 38,000 square feet, approximately 19,000 square feet is warehousing.
And you're a facility, so you know these numbers?
Yes.
Okay. And is there a warehouse in North Carolina?
Yes, there is.
How big is that one?
Tops 800 to 1,000 square feet. It's small.
So Milwaukee products are warehoused in Rhode Island before they're shipped down to North Carolina?
Yes, when we don't have enough stock to keep everything there on a
In North
consistent
Carolina?
basis in North Carolina, correct. So when we get depleted on one of the items, we place an order to the Rhode Island warehouse. That warehouse boxes it, and within 2 days it normally arrives via UPS, FedEx, best shipping method at our doorstep.
So at Rhode Island, do you handle any of the warehousing for the Hanna products?
No,
Okay. But you will do all that inventory and stuff on behalf of Milwaukee?
Milwaukee product.
Okay.
They share space.
And as intimated, and we'll make sure everybody's saying, do you, for Milwaukee, you create this standard operating procedures, the purchase orders, the forms of purchase for Milwaukee, correct?
That's correct.
Do you do any of that for Hanna?
No.
For Milwaukee, do you handle all the customer inquiries? Or can you?
I can, and I sometimes do, when there's an overflow, we'll call
Do you do this for Hanna?
it. No, I do not.
Do you provide any of the customer inquiries about Milwaukee products to Hanna?
No, I do not. There's no correlation.
Okay. Do you review the packaging, label, instructions that are used with or assembled with or become a part of any of the Milwaukee products?
Yes, I have the opportunity to review those kinds of things.
Okay, do you do that for Hanna?
No, I do not.
On behalf of Milwaukee, do you do product logistics?
I have logistics, yes,
Okay.
responsibilities.
And do you also involve yourself in any of the ordering of the Milwaukee products from Europe?
Yes, on a weekly basis, as I described a little bit earlier. If the quantity of an item goes down on the inventory requirement, and we need to have, say, 5 of those on the shelf, and there's only 3, and we have to run requirements in the computer systems that make a list, and that list is provided into a portal of software that automatically feeds into the Hanna systems for reorder, which is the overall logistics process of how we get our products.
Are any of the Milwaukee products actually manufactured in the United States?
No.
And do you review the labeling, packaging, instructions for Hanna?
No.
Do you manage the Milwaukee products, import and export of products to and from Rhode Island?
Well, how the product to and from Rhode Island.
Right, so it comes
Yes,
to Rhode Island
so
from Europe.
The products come from Europe, either in a container or underneath our feet when we're flying, for instance, in air cargo. They'll land up in the Boston area, and sometimes there might be a bump in that process. And if the bump is big, I'll have to get involved. If the bump is small, usually customs can take care of that issue. They clear it. They call it inland freight after that. It's a truck that goes up, picks up the freight. It brings it down to the warehouse. The warehouse unloads it, the staffing, and they put it on the shelf. We then place that order on a weekly basis from North Carolina, Rocky Mountain, to the Rhode Island location. Those staffing pack it up, box it, put put it on a UPS or FedEx truck or something, and they ship it out. That's the logistics aspect.
Did you do that for Hanna?
No, I do not.
Earlier, there was some slides that were shown that said that you were the CEO of Hanna. Is that true?
No, absolutely not.
Or Vice President really at Hanover facilities?
Yes.
Have you ever been to Romania?
I have.
How many times?
Oh, maybe 100 times. Yeah, it's cold in the winter. I can tell you that.
Why do you go to Romania?
Well, there's a huge facility out there that does the packaging and does the manufacturing called DP pumps. And I go there to basically see what's going on, see if everything's okay. How is the product being QC'd? Is it being QC'd properly? How's the packaging being performed? I also assist them in ensuring that statistically the numbers that they need to produce for us are correct in their systems, because it accumulates over time. So the number of units that turn and sell are often changing, so you have to update those things. And then to ensure that logistically the products are getting into containers properly and into air cargo properly and out the door to the Boston location.
And you say Boston, is it Boston or is it Rhode Island eventually?
Well, it stops at the airport or the port of Boston for clearing customs or any kind of FDA clearing them, that they have to, a lot of regulations in transportation. And then inland freight trucks pick it up at the airport or the port container area, and they bring it down to the Rhode Island facility.
Do you help with the customer service for Milwaukee?
I do.
Do you do that for Hanna?
No, I do not.
Is the MW500 ORP meter in the Hanna catalog?
It is not.
Have you seen this Hanna catalog before?
I have.
Sure, I think this has already been admitted as Plaintiffs Exhibit 375. If not?
It's admitted.
It's admitted? Thank you. Ooh. Will you approach for just a moment?
Yes.
And counsel, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Silvaggio, are you familiar with any of the contents of the Hanna general catalog?
I know there's a general catalog. I've seen it on different occasions. I don't read it per se.
Is that because, well, let me ask it this way. Does any of your responsibilities at Hanna have to do with this catalog at all?
No.
Okay. Does Hanna Instruments itself sell ORP meters?
They do.
Okay. Is the Milwaukee ORP meter anywhere in the Hanna catalog?
No, there's not.
Okay. You do know that your deposition was seen on the monitor here during this case?
Yes.
Okay. One of the questions that you were asked about several times is why is the Milwaukee meter less expensive? And did your answer have or talk about different features of the Hanna ORP as opposed to the Milwaukee ORP?
That's correct. An analogy is something like a Toyota and Lexus, right? Same company. Lexus is full of features and benefits and luxury, and the Toyota might not have as many of those. And if you don't want to pay for the Lexus price or need the Lexus price, you don't buy the Lexus price. It's the same concept. Hanna has a lot of features and benefits. They have a lot of things that the Milwaukee brand does not have. Ours is very, very simple. Simple meters, low price in terms of affordability, has great quality, and it offers a variety of opportunities for customers to make a decision. You know, why would you just allow one car in the market? Nobody does that. So we offer opportunity. We compete against each other in certain ways.
They show you what's been already marked and put into evidence. This box. Do you know what this is?
It's a, from here, I can tell it's a box.
Who might I approach?
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor. Mr. Robbins?
So this
Mr.
is a
Silvaggio,
box.
can you identify what that is?
This is a box containing the meter SKU code of the MW500 meter.
Is that the box that an MW500 meter would come in?
This is the previous box that the meter came in. We have a new branding, but this was the box that for many years it was shipped in, yeah.
Okay. It's, at one point, on the outside of this box, there's I want to say white and blue looking meter, correct?
Correct.
We had some evidence earlier on that there may have been a green colored one as well.
That's correct. Prior to this generation, we call this the ergonomic because it fits better in your hand. It's nicely shaped. It's more comfortable. There was a green square meter with, I believe, a yellow kind of mask on it.
Okay. And today, what does the color of the MW500 meter look like?
Now,
Yeah.
the current color of the MW 500 meter is black in the actual casing, the plastic casing, and has green going around the casing for the letters and the codes that are on it. And it has an electrode that connects to it, and it has a cap on it with a green shaft.
In this particular one, we have these particular instructions. Have you seen these before?
Yes.
One of the areas is operation, one of them is maintenance, one is battery replacement. Do you remember all these?
Yes.
Okay, one of them is specifications. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Optional accessories.
Correct.
And then the company also offers an express warranty.
That's right.
Okay. All right. And you indicated the first thing you would do is put the battery in, correct?
If I would have opened the box, I'd read the instruction manuals if I didn't know how to operate it. I'd insert the battery in the back of the case as the instruction manuals.
When you open the box,
Yeah.
this card was what we found here. Is this something that is put into the box?
Yes, that's an insert for the instruction manuals. It's directions.
Once the battery is put in, what is this?
That is there's some people refer to it as a sensor. Other people refer to it as an ORP electrode. They use intermittently in the business.
Sometimes in this case, we've used the word probe.
Correct.
Is that another word that can be used?
That's another word, yeah.
Okay. And what happens?
Sorry?
What happens with this? At least I can split it out from the stuff that was inside.
Well, that would be connected to the meter through the BNC connector.
Okay. Like this?
Yes, there's like a twist on almost. It's male-female connector they call it. Another term is called BNC.
Okay. Why does this stuff flake off?
That is, believe it or not, is salt. It's KCl, potassium chloride. It's non-harmful. You wash it off with warm water, and it has to be in there.
Why does it have to be in there?
It's a solution that is placed in at the production plant to keep the electrode wet during all the transport and in the warehousing duration. And when it gets to us, we ensure that they're full. If they're a little bit not full, we fill them back up a little bit in North Carolina. And they clean off that little bit of salt. It's just salt. A lot of people send questions about it, and it's just harmless. But you need it in order to keep the electrode wet.
We'll go back a little bit with regard to this case. Mr. Silvaggio, have you ever spoken with anyone under water?
No, I have not.
Have you ever spoken with someone by the name of Blain Jones?
No, I have not.
Earlier, we played portions of a video of Blain Jones to the jury. You've seen that video?
I have.
And does he ever mention Hanna?
No, he does not.
He uses a Milwaukee Instrument ORP meter in that video, correct?
That's correct.
Do you know how to use an MW500 ORP meter?
I've used them before.
Okay. But have you ever used a Hanna meter?
I can't recall if I ever used a Hanna ORP meter. Too long ago, maybe.
Okay. I'd like to go over this tip card. Sure. Is this tip card put into the box at what point?
That tip card instruction is put into the box in Rocky Mount, North Carolina by the employees there.
All right. We have it up here on the screen for the jury's review. I'm going to read it with you. The top line says Milwaukee, correct?
That's correct.
And then underneath it says operator instructions for MW500 electrode prep for getting negative ORP readings.
That's correct.
And those words are all in red, correct?
Correct.
And negative ORP is all caps?
It's all caps and it's underlined.
Okay, why is that?
Well, if you travel around the world and everywhere, everything that's red is basically in words, so to speak. You know, red fire trucks, red lights, stop signs are red, red lights. It's to bring attention to the fact that this card is meant for negative ORP readings.
Okay.
And the procedure for it.
Do most of the customers who buy ORP meters, the MW500 meters, are they looking for a meter that reads negative?
Most of our, there's a niche market for negative ORP. Most of our customers are aquariums, pools, schools, and they don't use negative ORP. Drinking water does not use negative ORP most of the time.
Okay. So let's go through this one. First sentence, ORP meters will read positive ORP solution right out of the box with little or no preparation. Did I read that correctly?
You did.
Next, what a negative MV. What does MV stand for?
Okay. MV stands for millivolt. It is 1/1000th of 1 volt. So if you have a 9-volt battery that you measure with a multimeter, a millivolt of that is 9,000 millivolts. So it's divided by 1,000.
Okay. When a negative ORP reading is desired, this usually applies to a health/medical water quality environment created by machine.
Yes.
Did I read that correctly?
You did.
What is it meant by the word machine?
There's a niche market out there that has, you can buy these machines called Kangen, if I'm saying it correctly, Kangen water machines.
Okay. And Kangen, does that technology come out of Japan?
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, the research was initially done back in Japan, yes.
So if I say the word Kangen, it's the same water, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I'm going to read this next sentence. The super negative reading generated by these machines are below -50 and can go as low as -800 millivolts. Did I read that correctly?
You did.
Okay. To effectively read a negative ORP state of water, the platinum probe used in most ORP meters must be is oxidized. Did I read that correctly?
You did.
And the grammar right there, must be is probably not the best grammar.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, all right. And what does oxidize mean?
Well, the concept of ORP means oxidation reduction potential. So it's a potential for an aqueous based solution to either oxidize something or reduce something. What does that mean? So if the reading is negative millivolt, it can reduce something. It can attack something that is positive. It can bind it chemically and neutralize it. For instance, a pathogen or something like that, a free radical they call it. And oxidize has the opposite effect. It is a positive, as more generally indicates that there's a little bit more oxygen in the water as well. And an oxidation on the probe is a state which is a little bit, in platinum, which is a noble metal, is a little bit, I would say, unnatural in its normal state that platinum is. So one wants the probe to be, if you want to use it for a negative ORP reading, you want to sort of prep it like a college prep course going into from high school into college. You want to prep that electrode to be able to get to a reading in a negative value faster and more efficiently, so efficiently, effectively. And you can do that by oxidizing the probe.
Let's go to the next paragraph real quickly. Platinum does not oxidize easily. What part of this instrument is platinum?
In the electrode, if you were to remove that.
Can I approach?
Any objection?
Okay, if you were to remove this cap, am I allowed to remove this?
I don't think so.
Okay, if you were to remove this cap, okay, and you turn this electrode upside down, you'll see inside of there's like these little arches, I'll call them. Inside that, there's a piece of platinum which starts at about this little dark marker area and it extends out. It's a little pin. It's like the size of a like a pin, like the size of a pin, but a very small one, the tip. And it's on this electrode.
Might be about an eighth of an inch or a quarter of an inch long.
Just about that, yeah.
Okay. And the only thing that's oxidized then is that little pin.
Is that
platinum?
Correct.
Okay. Next sentence. Sure I see this right. This oxidation process can be accomplished by letting the probe sit in very acidic white distilled vinegar. Parenthesis, open parenthesis, 2.5 pH or lower, close parenthesis, for 48 hours before use. What is the reason for using white distilled vinegar?
Well, white distilled vinegar is a stable pH, 2.5. It doesn't accept CO2 from the air and change it, whereas water, it could.
Okay. One of the questions that I have with regard to things over in Romania is why don't you just ship these probes in white distilled vinegar from Romania to Boston and from Boston down to North Carolina?
Well, vinegar is considered food, right? And the FDA has a lot of regulations on shipping food. And we're not licensed either at any of the companies to ship food. And should we do that, it would be a big problem.
In your prior deposition testimony with Peterson, you also discussed that vinegar has an odor. Is that correct?
It does have an odor. You walk into a room where there's just pure vinegar sitting there, I think everybody would smell it. Yeah.
And is that a concern for your customers, that they would be concerned that maybe?
Your Honor, Mr. Rasmussen is leading the last few questions. I didn't
I'll
get
sustain
it.
if there's an
Thank you.
objection. Rephrase.
Does vinegar have an odor?
Vinegar has an odor.
Is vinegar a food product?
It is a food product.
Is vinegar something that Milwaukee decided not to use in shipping?
We cannot use it in shipping. We're not licensed to ship food.
Is vinegar in this tip card something that is, the words used vinegar? Does it say vinegar?
It does say vinegar.
Does the word 48 hours before use, is that stated in this tip card?
It is.
Why was the amount 48 hours used?
It is a reasonable conditioning time for the oxidation process to take place on the tip, not the tip that's in the electrode.
Let me read the next sentence. The electrode, what does that electrode mean? Is that what we're talking about, is the platinum tip?
The electrode is, if you refer to something as the electrode, a lot of people refer to it as a probe, electrode,
Okay,
or
that's-
the probe. Yeah, the whole thing is called an electrode.
Okay, and there's at least, is there more than one part to the electrode?
Absolutely, multiple parts, little intricate assemblies that go into making that. It's very, very difficult, very time consuming, very technical.
Mr. Silvaggio, are you involved in any way with the manufacturing now of that product?
No, I am not.
Do you have the knowledge to be able to manufacture that product?
I do not.
All right, do you have the science background to manufacture?
I do not have the science background to make that for manufacturing, so.
Let me go on. So the electrode, as far as I understand, is there two different main parts that are going through that down to the bottom?
There is.
And you talked about one which is the platinum probe, correct?
Yes, if one could see into that, I can't tell if that's very translucent or not. You would see a silver wire going from the top electrode towards the bottom. You would also see.
Your Honor.
Yes.
No kidding.
Well, this is not very translucent. Okay, so the cable is called coaxial cable. Connects to a BNC connector. There's a ground and there's a positive on this. The internal is the positive, the external is the ground. The cable is a copper cable that runs through here, which conducts millivolts. It transfers millivolts to the meter. Inside of here, there is a silver wire that comes all the way down and meets the platinum wire. And then beside that, inside of this, there's a gel, like jelly, but a thicker consistency. And that gel is KCl, potassium chloride, it's this white stuff. So in addition to being in the cap for keeping the electrode moist, it is also in liquid format. It is also inside the electrode in a gel format. And it has to be in there. And it has to leak. If it did not leak, the whole system would not function. It allows for the potassium chloride that's in there to go to what is called a reference. And the reference is made of cloth, a certain type of cloth. And should that reference become clogged or dried from KCl and from not being kept in during non-use times in a liquid, proper liquid, it could render the electrode non-functional.
Going back to this tip card, it says the electrode must also be stored in distilled vinegar all the time when not in use. Did I read that correctly?
You did.
Next sentence, and this has got some yellow on it. It's on the tip card that I have here that came with the actual product. It says, do not use the storage bottle for long-term use. Use a cup or jar. can only use the storage bottle with vinegar when traveling with the unit. What is the storage bottle?
Well, this little thing that removes, lefty-loosey, slide it off. They're calling this the storage bottle. That's the term that we've used for it. Some people call it cap, storage cap.
Next sentence says, never let the probe dry out or set for an extended time in solution that is above 3.0 pH. Did I read that correctly?
You did.
What does the underlined word extended time mean?
Excuse me, sorry about that. Extended time. It is a sort of a relative term, right? So an electrode that could be left out for, say, 5 days, could it affect the reference drying out? Absolutely. Is there a potential possibility that after the 5-day period, you soak it again, and would that reference unclog? There is that potential. So it's not necessarily an exact thing that it would dry out in 5 days. It could dry out in 5 days and put it inside of something to hydrate it, and then it doesn't work after that. So you have to throw it away and get a new one.
How about after 5 months?
After 5 months, you can consider this pretty much dead on arrival. Put it in a trash can, forget about it, as they say in New York.
Let's go back to the next sentence. All ORP probes used in this manner will need to be replaced about every 10 to 12 months due to corrosion of the platinum on the probe diode.
Yeah.
Did I read that correctly?
You did.
So after 10 to 12 months, that particular probe or electrode,
Sensor electrode.
it's no longer going to function, correct?
It's like a tire that's worn out after 36,000 miles. It pretty much sees its useful life, you know? Off you go.
Who wrote the tip card?
This was written by the general manager at the time, Mr. Brian Moore.
Where is Brian?
Mr. Moore, unfortunately, passed away in 2018 of cancer.
All right. Did you approve this tip card before it was put into boxes?
Yes, I did.
Did you share your approval with anyone at Hanna?
No, there's no need to. We put it in North Carolina.
So the tip card is actually inserted in North Carolina?
Yes. Well, I didn't necessarily approve it 100%. I was reviewed it with Mr. Moore, had a little bit of input at the time.
Hand that back to me, I'll put this away. Thank you. One of the words that has been used, I believe, by one of the employees in Milwaukee, Jason Brown, was the word aquatics.
I'm sorry?
Aquatics.
Aquatics.
What does that mean?
Well, aquatics is any application that takes into consideration the use of water. The pool is aquatics, an aquarium is aquatics, pond water is aquatics, lilies on pond water can be considered in the aquatic process. So it's you could even, some people call sports in water aquatics, right? So it's a very versatile term. But as it applies to science, it usually applies to like pools, aquariums in our markets.
Okay. Are most of the ORP meters made by Milwaukee purchased for work or for use with aquatics?
It's various markets, but yes, aquatics.
Have you ever heard of the word, and we've already discussed the Kangen water, correct?
I have.
Do you know what it is?
I know it's a machine that people purchase.
Have you seen the machine?
I've seen the machine, yes.
Can you describe for me what the machine looks like?
Sure. There's different shapes, but the ones that I've seen, they approximately look like a toaster. And you connect them up to a sink, a faucet, and there's an influent water. It runs a process, and that process then has an output, and you put it into a container. And it's an output of water, and it's supposed to have a negative ORP at the end of that bottling, or when you put it in your cup or something.
Do you know if Kangen Water ever uses chemicals to spray its product?
To my knowledge, they need to use no chemical additives. It's just, you start at the tap, you run it through the machine, it comes out in your cup, and you drink it.
So, part of this litigation as president of Milwaukee, were you ever contacted by the FDA with regard to their investigation of real water?
FDA, no.
Did you ever get a call from the federal CDC?
No.
Center for Disease Control?
Yes.
I understand. Did you ever get contacted by the Southern Nevada Health District?
No, never.
Okay. Can we go back to, can you put the instructions up now, Mark, for the MW 500 meter?
What exhibit number is that?
It's going to be here, but he's going to show it from which, it's already been admitted, I believe.
186. 186?
186. Okay. I'll go back.
Jennifer will.
Somebody's calling. In the instruction manual, we've already talked about it, is something in the operations. It says the meter is factory calibrated.
Correct.
Does that word appear in the instructions?
Correct.
Do the free mark if you got it.
It's under operation, almost the last bullet.
It's right here. Thank you. Now, in this case, calibration has been used to describe a couple of different functions. And I think it's being mixed up a bit. And that's okay. But calibration that we use right here has to do with calibration of the meter.
Calibration of the meter, correct.
And this is the meter, right?
That is the meter.
Okay. And conditioning is what you do with a probe.
That's correct.
To oxidize it.
Correct.
So calibration, if I wanted to, and I don't think they want me to here in court, but on the back of the Milwaukee meter, there are 3 different screws, correct?
That is correct.
If I remove those screws, take that off, I would see kind of like a computer panel, correct?
There would be what is called a PCB board. It's an electronic board. It contains resistors and chips and diodes and things.
Is there on that board anything having to do with calibration?
There is it's a strange term, but it's called a potentiometer. Basically, it's a screw.
Okay.
And on that board, there is something in there that you can turn a potentiometer up, you can turn the potentiometer down. What does a potentiometer do? Excuse me. It either adds resistance to an electronic board or it removes resistance to an electronic board. It's like water over the dam, stopping it is resistance, or letting it go, the water flows.
Okay. So a user of the Milwaukee MW500 would not know about the potentiometer unless they undid all of the screws on this and took it apart, disassembled it, and then monkeyed with that particular potentiometer for calibration?
Potentiality. Yes, we do not want them doing that because that can change the entire outcome of the meter's readings.
Okay. All right. Do other manufacturers, if you know, do calibration in different ways?
There are some out there that I've come across that use the term calibration in a different way. Yes.
Okay. Could calibration be done on the outside of the meter?
It could be.
And then the user would have access to that, correct?
Correct.
But Milwaukee doesn't want to have that feature, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So if someone wanted to buy a meter with that feature, they can go buy that from another manufacturer.
If it's available at another manufacturer and somebody wanted that feature and wanted to pay for it, or if it was less expensive, I don't know, they could find that.
In the instructions, is there, under maintenance, is there instructions on how to clean the meter?
Yes, well, not clean the meter, clean the sensor, the electrode or the platinum tip, yes.
Okay. So with regard to calibration, that's right there in the instruction. With regard to cleaning, that's here in maintenance. With regard to conditioning of the probe, you don't have to condition it unless you're going to do negative ORP readings, correct?
Correct.
And you've inserted an insert card if someone wants to do that, to negative.
Yeah, it's someone's application. We sell to many different applications. We sell to pools, we sell to schools, we sell to wine sometimes, for testing of wine. And if they don't want or need that information, they needn't use it, so we give them the option.
Are Milwaukee Instruments rated by customers?
Yes, we have an e-commerce site, and if I were to decide to go and, as a consumer, purchase a meter from the Milwaukee e-commerce site, I would then immediately be authorized to rate the experience with the company. And it's the overall experience. You can say anything you want, but you can't say anything foul. No bullying. And we offer that, yes.
Do you have information with regard to the number of meter, the Milwaukee MW500 ORP meter? Do you have general ideas of how many have been sold? I'm just asking a question.
Yeah, okay, general idea, I would say since 2016 to somewhere in 2023, it's about 11,500 units have been sold. And we have a 4.5 star rating on that meter.
What is the rate that customers have inquired after the purchase of 11,000? How many times, what's the rate that they send an inquiry in about this meter?
Out of 11,500 thereabouts units, we did some rough calculations, and it came out to about 0.001% on the inquiry feedbacks.
And what did that tell you?
Well, it should tell us that we're doing a pretty good job with the customer base. I would think if we get a 4.5 star rating out of 5. We've sold that many meters. We have a feedback system. We have a feedback inquiry system as well. And, just running those numbers, hopefully we're doing the right things for our customer base, and it seems to be trending like that.
Mark, last one, it's going to be a slide on the side of the box. Pull it up for me. believe, so the side of the box, I believe, has been admitted.
Which exhibit number?
It's 7089, page 36.
7089,
Page 36.
Okay.
unless it's under a plaintiff's exhibit, but 7089 is not.
Okay, I'll see what I can do with that. Mr. Silvaggio, will you look at the side of this box? Will you look at it, please?
Oh, sure.
Do you see it?
I do.
Do you see writing on it? Do you need my
I gotta
glasses?
squint a little bit, but yeah.
Right, fair enough. Have you seen that writing before?
Yes.
Okay. And does that appear on every box of the Milwaukee MW500 unit?
This is on this version of the box. It's on this version of the box. It's on the current version of the box, which is slightly different color and same shape, different color and rebranded. And it's stated right on there. Yes.
Your Honor, we move to have that particular photograph of that side of the box moved into evidence.
Exhibit number, please.
7089, page 62?
36.
36, excuse me.
No objection from your
No objection.
Okay, shall be admitted.
Mark, can you go ahead and show us that photo?
I will need, if you only want the one page of that exhibit admitted, I will need that page.
You're absolutely right, and I will get that for you.
Thank you.
Looking at this photo, it might be on your screen right here, Mr. Silvaggio.
Sure.
Okay. You've already testified you've seen this before, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Can we go through that real quickly?
Sure.
I'm thinking this so it's easier for me to read.
Yep.
We have to get the right number correct as far as the potential exhibit.
The exhibit list says that this is not 7089.
Okay.
Judge, you can correct this on right. We'll just go ahead.
Tori, I'm sorry. I don't know why it's not. Mark's kind of the, but I will make sure that we get you right. Okay? All right. Mr. Silvaggio, looking at the side of the box. At the top it says Milwaukee.
Yes.
And underneath it, it says measurements made easy.
Yes.
And then off the side says portable meters.
Yes.
Okay. Is a MW500 meter a measuring scientific instrument?
Yes, it's a scientific instrument device, a scientific measuring device. Yes.
Underneath that, it has the word warning. Do you see that?
I do.
Is that in all caps?
It is.
Okay. Is it a different font?
Correct.
Size than the warning?
Correct.
Let's go through the warnings. Mark, if you could just take that section that's right there under warning. That works. Great. Thank you, Mark. The first sentence of this one says, the enclosed product is intended for use by persons knowledgeable in safe laboratory practices. Did I read that correctly?
You did.
Okay. Where did the language for the instructions and the packaging in this box come from?
The language came from a facility in Romania.
Is there a specific department in Romania that handles this?
Sure, it would be the research teams that handle this.
And is the research team in Romania, do they speak English?
They're very fluent, and sometimes multiple languages. In English, yes.
Okay. And they're the ones that put this warning on?
Yes.
Okay. And do you meet with the research team?
If I need to, yes.
And have you met with the research team with regard to this specific meter?
It must have been, it was some time ago probably, but yes.
Okay. Are you someone that approves the instructions that are in the box and on the outside of this packaging?
I can approve, yes.
Have you ever had to make changes to any of the instructions?
I haven't had to push back changes, but there have been revisions throughout the years that the research teams have done.
So the research team in Romania would do revisions, correct?
Correct.
You can review those revisions, correct?
I can review.
Right. Have you ever made changes to any revisions?
I haven't had the need to make any changes to the revisions. The revisions have been coming in from production due to the research.
Okay. In this sentence, it says safe laboratory practices. What do you believe that means?
In many laboratories and in many production facilities, water treatment plants, water bottling plants, they have laboratories both internal and then externally they're labs for hire, such as an environmental lab, water testing labs. These labs have books, and they have chemists, and they have people who are trained in food processing, if they're food processing people. These are professionals. They've gone to school for this. They studied it, they know the regulations, they've been trained in this. And those kinds of processes should be inside of plants, manufacturing plants, designed for food plants, water plants, and that's what those refer to. So there are standard methods that some of these books are this thick that people use for testing different aqueous-based things.
On there, if you look just a little bit, Mark, for me, I need to see that CE. We can see it now. What does CE stand for?
It's a European, I don't know the exact term, CE. It skips my mind, getting a little bit old here, but